What if I told you this isn't footage from a movie, but actual gameplay? These kinds of games are coming soon. Today, I'm going to show you 20 new upcoming titles with insane graphics that will leave even the most hardcore gamers speechless. You definitely don't want to miss this.
Let's see you!
ArcheAge Channel.
Silent Hill F is not just a return to the roots of the legendary horror franchise, it's a haunting rebirth wrapped in delicate petals and slow-burning dread. Set in the 1960s rural Japan, in a mist-laced town called Ebisugaoka, carefully modeled after Kaneyama in Gifu Prefecture, this chapter abandons the iconic Silent Hill backdrop of Shizuoka to evoke something far more unsettling. Every corner of this village feels drenched in decay, beauty, and quiet madness. You step into the fragile shoes of Hinako Shimizu, a young woman wandering through a surreal, floral-infected world where aesthetic perfection curdles into psychological terror. Written by Ryukishi07, the master of existential dread behind Higurashi, the story doesn't scream. It whispers with elegance, seducing you into its tragic spiral. The environments breathe with layered soundscapes, the atmosphere drips with elegance, and the pacing carries the weight of a folklore nightmare. Intergalactic. The Heretic prophet crashes onto the PlayStation 5 like a cinematic meteor, Naughty Dog's boldest and most visionary leap into science fiction yet. Set thousands of years in the future, the story follows Jordan A. Munn, a bounty hunter adrift in deep space who finds herself marooned on the long-lost planet of Semperia. This is no clean-cut sci-fi fantasy. Her ship is littered with CRT monitors, dusty CD players, and looping 1980s anime. The design is retro cyberpunk at its finest, mixing grit and myth into a melancholic symphony. As Jordan unravels the secrets of a syndicate known only as the Five Aces, every detail, from the fibers of her spacesuit to the reflections in her visor, radiates the care of a handcrafted world. This isn't about laser beams and explosions, it's about legacy, memory, and a world that forgot it was watching the stars. Marvel 1943. Rise of Hydra plunges you into the smoke-filled alleys and war-torn streets of occupied Paris, far from the glittering superpowered spectacles of the MCU. Here, Captain America and Azuri, the Black Panther of the era, team up with Resistance fighters Gabriel Jones and Nanali in a grounded espionage-heavy narrative where stealth, sabotage, and shadows are your strongest weapons. This is Marvel filtered through the lens of historical fiction, where Nazi patrols clash with vibranium claws and iconic shields ricochet down crumbling stairwells. Written by the legendary Amy Hennig, the game pulses with the DNA of Uncharted, but trades the exotic ruins for the grimy cobblestones of war. It's visceral, it's focused, and above all, it's human.
Dead, we be dead. So what do you want?
Answers.
That's far enough!
Stay out of my way!
Stand aside!
I do not take orders from anyone!
I don't have time for this.
Neither do I.
IRC Raiders storms onto the scene as a fast-paced, extraction-style shooter that drops you into the remains of a ruined Earth ravaged by sentient ARC machines. As a raider, you rise from underground sanctuaries to scavenge for supplies in sprawling PvPvE zones, where robots and rival players are equally deadly. The world is vast, the visuals crisper than ever, and the movement smooth as silk thanks to recent updates in polish and animation. Whether you play solo or with a squad, every firefight becomes a desperate struggle for survival, and every escape with loot feels like a hard-earned victory. With a delayed release now aiming for late 2025, this feels less like a stumble and more like a calculated leap toward quality. And it shows. ArcheAge Chronicles breathes new life into the sandbox legacy with a sweeping return to Aurora, a continent teeming with forgotten ruins, mythical beasts, and endless opportunity. This is not the ArcheAge of old. Powered by Unreal Engine 5, the game dazzles with jaw-dropping fidelity, turning every trade route and temple crawl into a visual feast. You carve your own path in a world where melee clashes and spell duels feel weighty, combat is swift and responsive, and player choices ripple across factions, alliances, and the unfolding storyline. It's an MMO that flirts with the best of single-player RPGs, cinematic sequences, branching consequences, and a living economy shaped by real adventurers building homes, crafting goods, and conquering the high seas. From massive raids to tense courtroom trials, everything you do feels grounded in purpose.
Prove yourself. If you survive this trial,
Blood Message delivers a harrowing journey through Tang Dynasty China, fusing myth, violence, and survival into a searing action-adventure that feels like Uncharted by way of ancient poetry. You step into the role of a nameless messenger, a father escorting his young son across the harsh expanse between Dunhuang and Chang'an, carrying a rebellion-igniting message in a world teetering on the brink. Powered by Unreal Engine 5, every frame glows with cinematic tension, dust-filled ruins, wind-swept deserts, and temples smoldering in the distance. The combat slices deep with grounded swordplay and brutal melee. But there's also stealth, intimate storytelling, and an emotional core that's felt in every footstep and whispered lullaby. Crimson Desert unfolds like a dark medieval fable painted in blood and sunlight, a fantasy epic where the dust never settles and the world itself feels bruised and breathing. You play as Cliff, a haunted mercenary drawn into a web of betrayal, shifting allegiances, and kingdom-spanning civil war. The environments are nothing short of breathtaking, brought to life by the custom-built Black Space engine. Winds whip across bone-dry plains, ancient ruins glow with eerie magic, and storms roll in like omens. The combat is visceral and cinematic, with weighty swordplay, magic-infused grapples, and high-impact duels that shift dynamically with the weather and terrain. This is fantasy with grit in its teeth, not polished grandeur, but raw struggle. Originally aiming for mid-2025, the release has been moved to the end of the year, and if recent footage is any clue, that extra time is only refining something already extraordinary.
For those who have died, for those who have survived.
007. First Light redefines Bond not as the smooth legend we know, but as the rough, restless man he was before the fame. IO Interactive brings their mastery of stealth and world design into a bold new era, introducing a young James Bond, fresh from naval service, thrust into his first unsanctioned mission. This isn't about tuxedos and gadgets, but decisions, shadows, and grit. As he stalks alpine hideouts and lush espionage dens, you choose the path. Stealth or firepower, sabotage or seduction. Every option layered into a third-person structure IO knows like the back of their hand. Classic characters like MQ and Moneypenny are reimagined with modern grit, and rumor has it that Irish actor Patrick Gibson lends Bond his voice, breaking from the tradition of tying games to film actors.
tell me, what do you do, James?
Lately, headhunting.
Black State pulls you into a dreamlike espionage thriller where reality bends at the seams and stealth is more psychological than tactical. In this surreal world, each door you pass through doesn't just lead to another room, it takes you somewhere else entirely. One moment you're in a rain-slick neon street, the next in a silent subway bathed in pale blue light. The Turkish developers built their own engine from scratch to bring this procedural hallucination to life, bypassing even Unreal's Nanite and Lumen to craft transitions that feel like magic tricks. Graphical fidelity nears photorealism, kept smooth by DLSS 4 with multi-frame generation, letting the game run like a dream even on monstrous RTX 5090S. Over 100 cinematic kill animations make stealth feel brutal, weighty, and impactful. The Age of Bhaarat roars with myth and legacy, a Tarwade-ul-A action RPG rooted in the rich soil of ancient India. You become a forest warden chosen to stand against a demonic Rakshasa invasion that threatens sacred lands. What follows is a symphony of movement and myth. Lush forests carved with temples, mountain peaks that scrape the heavens, and mystical architecture drawn from the heart of Indian epics. Behind the scenes is a dream team. A Ghost Recon veteran, a best-selling novelist, and Bollywood icon, Amitabh Bachchan, all uniting to create a cultural landmark. Traversal is fluid, powered by grappling hooks, aerial combos, elemental relics, and graceful parkour, all blending into gameplay that feels like a dance of blades and belief. Written by Amish Tripathi, the story weaves morality, myth, and personal growth into a branching journey where your choices shape not just the world, but the legacy you leave behind.
Stand with your people. Play the Age of Bhaarat. Protect the weak. Punish the wicked.
Resident Evil 9. Requiem drags us back to the ashes of Raccoon City, nearly 3 decades after its obliteration, and this time it's not about survival, it's about reckoning. You play as Grace Ashcroft, a woman chasing ghosts and secrets through the scorched remnants of a town that still groans under the weight of buried horrors. Every corridor, every shadow, every half-burned hallway is soaked in memory, and as you explore a deranged hotel where Grace's mother died 8 years earlier, the terror becomes deeply personal. Built on the RE engine and featuring both first and third-person perspectives, the game blends classic survival dread with modern cinematic fluency. Monster encounters are savage, lighting is ray-traced and merciless, and the pacing leans into claustrophobic tension. Directed by Koshi Nakanishi, the mastermind behind Resident Evil 7, this entry twists psychological threads around raw fear, creating a narrative as emotional as it is brutal.
Are my hope?
Everyone's gone.
Stay away from that!
Onimusha Way of the Sword resurrects a legendary name with a sharpened edge and a burning soul. Set in a corrupted Edo-era Kyoto steeped in mist, dread, and myth, you take up the sword as Miyamoto Musashi, history's most feared samurai, fused with a demonic Oni gauntlet that absorbs souls and bends the battlefield to your fury. The combat is elegant and brutal, driven by precise S and parries, sweeping blade strikes, and supernatural finesse, all beautifully rendered through the RE engine's raw visual muscle. From cursed shrines to Genma-infested valleys, every zone tells its own story of rot and resistance, and every boss fight feels like a duel between life and oblivion. Capcom promises a 20-hour standalone journey, and the footage teased so far reveals dense level design, fluid animations, and a haunting score that clings like fog to the soul.
What got them so riled up?
I'm glad you're unharmed.
Resonance. A Plague Tale legacy shifts the lens to Sophia, a treasure hunter running from her past and straight into a storm of myth, plague, and fate. Set 15 years before Requiem, the game takes us to the labyrinthine Minotaur's Island, where every ruin whispers of the Macula's looming curse. The world is darker, stranger, alive with ancient sorrow, and the rat swarms are more chaotic than ever, faster, smarter, and hungrier. But Sophia isn't helpless. She's fierce, adaptive, wielding blades, tools, and alchemical tricks that make every encounter a brutal dance of survival. The game ditches slow stealth for more fluid combat while keeping the soul-crushing emotional weight the series is known for. Asobo expands its world-building with lush forests, crumbling castles, and puzzle-laced caverns soaked in decay. Project Cronos. The New Dawn delivers a terrifying vision of post-human survival, where mutated creatures called orphans roam a ruined Earth, and you, the traveler, are left to stitch together what little meaning remains. Set in a nightmarish version of retro 1980s Poland, the world is as cold as it is unforgettable. Abandoned factories, brutalist ruins, and irradiated wastelands form the backdrop for an unrelenting survival horror experience that only offers one difficulty: hard. Ammo is scarce, torches are vital, and if you fail to finish off a monster, it can split into something worse. Every enemy is a puzzle, every resource a gamble. The combat borrows grit from Dead Space, dread from Alien, and atmosphere from shows like Dark. The story unfurls in fragments, audio logs, graffiti, and hallucinations, and the ending isn't singular but branching, tied to your choices, your failures, and your understanding of the nightmare you inhabit.
Some kind of experiment, right?
This is solace.
What are you doing?
Preserving. So, the human race is an anomaly.
New Tomb Raider 4, still without a final title, marks the long-awaited next chapter in Lara Croft's evolution. And while Crystal Dynamics keeps most cards close to the chest, the few whispers that have emerged paint a picture of something bold and bruised. This is not the Lara of the last trilogy, nor the wide-eyed adventurer from decades past. This is a woman hardened by survival, older, sharper, and possibly more broken than ever before. Set across massive open regions rich with ancient biospheres and death-trap temples, the gameplay promises vertical traversal, environmental storytelling, and boss encounters sculpted from nature itself. While leaks point to Unreal Engine 5 and outside studio collaboration, official details remain buried under layers of secrecy. But the ambition is clear. This is not a reboot, it's a reckoning, a fusion of legacy and evolution. Even without a trailer, the industry buzz is electric. If it lives up to its potential, this could be Lara's most personal, most dangerous journey yet. Hunger plunges you headfirst into the disease-ridden mud of post-Napoleonic Europe, where survival isn't just a struggle, it's a sentence. This first-person, multi-stage extraction shooter layers historical decay over high-stakes brutality as you navigate plague-swept forests, haunted monasteries, and war-torn villages, scavenging what little hope remains. PvP/PvE raids put you against monstrous hunger entities and equally desperate human survivors, while everything you bring back to your chateau hub carves permanent progression into your character's bones. The tension never lets go. There are no second chances, no hand-holding, only the cruel rhythm of gunfire, betrayal, and fleeting mercy. It feels like Hunt, showdown forged in the fire of Witchfire's design, but with an even stronger focus on world-building, voice-acted NPCs, quests, and a player-run economy riddled with desperation.
Same gluttony that led to the end.
Squadron 42 finally emerges from the shadows of development as a full-blown cinematic campaign that aims to redefine space storytelling. Built within the Star Citizen universe by Chris Roberts and backed by a staggering cast including Henry Cavill, Gillian Anderson, and Gary Oldman, the game is now polishing every edge after hitting feature-complete status in 2023. This is a 30 to 40-hour space odyssey, single-player only, laser-focused on immersive combat, exploration, and character-driven drama. Forget multiplayer chaos. This is about one pilot, one mission, and a galaxy of tightly woven events. Dogfights streak across alien skies, warships tremble under cannon fire, and in the middle of it all, you're chasing truth, loyalty, and survival. Built with obsessive detail, every cockpit, every conversation, every corridor echoes with narrative purpose. While developers still hesitate to commit to a final date, they remain firm on a 2026 target, likely PC only at launch. Hell is Us unfolds in a shattered land where war, grief, and something far older have twisted the terrain into a silent nightmare. You play as Remy, a former UN peacekeeper turned lone wanderer, returning to his homeland of Hydra in search of his vanished parents. But this journey isn't marked by maps or markers. There's no HUD, no glowing arrows, just a world that speaks in whispers and broken architecture. Every clue comes from the land itself. Charred buildings, trails of blood, conversations half heard and easily missed. Combat is heavy and methodical, built around stamina management and devastating melee encounters. You wield swords, axes, and spears, each deliberate and dangerous, while your drone companion draws the attention of otherworldly hollow-walkers that drift through the ruins like forgotten souls. The world itself feels sculpted from fever dreams, brutalist spires, surreal decay, and breathtaking landscapes soaked in melancholy. Beast of Reincarnation tears through expectations with Game Freak's most daring departure yet, a mature, myth-soaked action RPG set in the year 4026 in a version of Japan left scarred by a strange and spreading corruption. You become Emma the Sealer, a lone wanderer branded by mysterious powers, trekking across decaying forests, broken shrines, and ruins haunted by nature gone wrong. Her only companion is Ku, a loyal dog who doesn't just follow but evolves with you, unlocking spiritual abilities that grow as your bond deepens. The combat is brutal and parry-focused, demanding timing, awareness, and precision. One misstep, and even the smallest enemy can tear you down. Traversal isn't passive. It's vine whip grapples, vertical escapes, and platforming that merges seamlessly with environmental puzzles. The art direction leans into a darker, more grounded version of anime like Princess Mononoke. Lyrical but vicious, magical but unforgiving. Unrecord blurs the line between reality and nightmare like nothing before it, dropping you into the body cam of a police officer in a crime-thick world rendered so photorealistically that early footage was dismissed as fake. But it's very real. Every doorway, every breath, every flashlight flicker brought to life in Unreal Engine 5 with such visceral detail that it feels more documentary than game. You're not just shooting. You're investigating, parsing environments, making moral decisions, and absorbing a story told through shattered lives and flickering truths. Dialogue flows like real conversation, choices branch in subtle but irreversible ways, and the violence, when it erupts, feels terrifyingly authentic. This isn't a power fantasy, it's a psychological dive through a tactical lens built by the indie team at Drama, who've refused to turn this into a simulator.